For as little as $1 per month, you can support independent journalism by supporting Mieum Media on Patreon. That's mere pocket change to support quality local content creation. To subscribe, visit patreon.com/MIEUM Media. Thank you to all paid subscribers for helping to grow Mieum Media and for supporting independent journalism. Today I'm going to talk about the way we vote, using chocolate. The textbook example of an election is that there are two candidates and you vote for the one you like best. The candidate with more votes will win. That's easy. But what if people aren't fond of the two choices? The obvious answer is that more candidates can run, but this creates two problems. First, if more than two candidates run, then it is possible for a candidate to be elected even when they don't have a majority of the votes. In this example, candidate Kim would win, even though 60% of voters didn't vote for her. This happened in Connecticut's 2018 Republican gubernatorial primary. Bob Stefanowski won the nomination, even though he had less than 30% of the vote. That means that over 70% of Republicans did not vote for the candidate who became their party's nominee. Second, voting for a candidate outside of your two main choices can lead to the spoiler effect. In our example, let's say that I am not fond of candidate Hong, but I really hate candidate Lee, so instead I vote for candidate Kim. A few others follow suit. Because I didn't vote for Hong, candidate Lee was able to win. In this example, candidate Kim spoiled the election results. Not only did my preferred candidate not win the election, but my least favorite candidate was able to claim victory. Many people believe that's what happened in 1992, when Ross Perot ran as an independent. To fix these issues, some people are supporting an alternative method of running elections, known as ranked choice voting, and they hope to bring it to Connecticut.
I'm Steve Winter. I'm one of the leaders of Voter Choice CT. We're a grassroots group that's organizing to push for ranked choice voting legislation here in Connecticut. So ranked choice voting allows voters to vote for multiple candidates and to rank them in the order they prefer. And that means that if your first choice candidate doesn't win, there's a chance that that vote gets transferred to your second choice candidate. So an instant runoff occurs. So if there were three candidates, the one who got the least votes would drop out of the race, and they'd look at all those voters' second choice candidates and add them to the other two candidates to see who got a majority of votes.
In our example, I loved candidate Kim, I was not fond of candidate Hong, and I really hated candidate Lee. I would have given my top choice to Kim, my second pick to Hong, and I wouldn't have put anything down for Lee. Kim would still have been eliminated for getting the fewest votes, but since Hong was my second choice, my support would be transferred to him. Assuming that others voted in the same way that I did, candidate Hong would have won, which would have prevented my least favorite choice, candidate Lee, from getting into office. This also produced a result where the winner claimed a clear majority of the votes.
This is a new concept for a lot of people, but it's not a new idea. It's been used in Australia and Ireland for decades, and even in some U.S. cities like Memphis for decades. In other U.S. cities, it's been relatively new, like in San Francisco in the last 20 years. And then the state of Maine actually just passed this for a number of different elections there, including congressional seats. So we just saw a congressperson elected in Maine, and they had to use the second place votes. It was split about 46-46, and then when they removed the two independent candidates from the race and transferred the votes, a Democrat narrowly squeaked by with just over 50% of the vote. And we actually had a Trump-appointed federal judge after the election confirm that this kind of election is totally kosher legally.
Some critics are concerned that ranked choice voting, while perhaps a good idea, might be a bit complicated to explain to voters.
A lot of folks say, this is too complicated, it's too confusing, folks won't understand it or they won't use it. I think that speaks to the need for strong public education. So up in Maine, they did an incredible amount of public education all over the state. It was everywhere you looked, to explain to people, okay, here's how the new ballot will look. It's really simple. You rank your candidates 1, 2, 3, and you're all set. And over 80% of the voters in Maine picked more than one candidate.
Others have voiced concerns that fringe candidates and extreme political parties unable to win under our current system will be able to gain traction under a ranked choice voting system. Stephen disagreed.
So this is a way of voting. It's something that can actually help strengthen both parties. If it's used in party primaries, again, it allows us to bring together a consensus within the party to make sure that a candidate who represents that party actually has support from a majority of folks within the party. So I think that this is something that can help both parties, both bringing in new ideas and new voices within the party, but also building consensus around what party members really want.
Stephen was optimistic about ranked choice voting's prospects in Connecticut.
There's a study bill that the Secretary of State has written to look at how Connecticut could implement ranked choice voting. And so we're really interested in pushing legislation like that forward. There's also legislation that a Republican Representative O'Neill, has submitted to implement ranked choice voting in party primaries.
Many people in the United States are fed up with the current state of politics. Even if ranked choice voting doesn't gain traction, it's great to see people so dedicated to strengthening the democratic process.
I think it can also do a lot for our political culture, in that changing the way we vote can change our politics. Instead of having candidates attacking one another on the airwaves, they're going to be competing for second place votes from their opponent's supporters. And so they're going to be much less likely to attack their opponents. And that's something we've seen documented in places that have ranked choice voting, like Minneapolis, Minnesota.